We didn't cheat on width, height, or length because the functionality I'm about to describe fits in a smaller footprint than the F-150, the most popular pickup truck in the US. The main modification to the design is this: an exoskeleton was made and the mass was shifted outside. The results of the Cybertruck crash test are shocking for unanticipated reasons. The Tesla Cybertruck? Huh? How even should I begin? It resembles opening a can of worms only to discover a roller coaster within. Imagine this: Elon Musk's Tesla releases a teaser that is essentially the movie version of a cliffhanger, a crash test that keeps you in suspense until the very end while revealing nothing. It's a classic Musk move, akin to bracing for an untimely sneeze. The internet then went into full investigation mode when Tesla eventually revealed the crash test findings at the Cybertruck delivery event. Everyone who had ever binge-watched a season of Mythbusters seemed to have overnight become an authority on car safety. The decision? Critiques of the Cybertruck's design seem to be flying more quickly than a popcorn kernel in hot oil. Is that actually the case, though? Let's investigate. The first complaint is that this beast of a car managed to transform what appeared to be a regular test into a forceful and dramatic display by taking on an immovable object at a leisurely 35 mph. The story hinted to a rear axle saying goodbye in the middle of the test, leaving viewers stunned. Online users' general consensus was that this couldn't be the model for a vehicle in the future, concealed behind a level of incredulity typically found in soap opera story turns. There's a storyline twist, though. Things become interesting when you put the Cybertruck up against the F-150, a safety titan. This is a more realistic comparison by contrasting it with the F-150, one of the safest pickups available on the market. The matchup now appears to be more of an eye-opening discovery that maybe, just maybe, the Cybertruck can roll with the best of them rather than a heavyweight V as a lightweight. And once the smoke cleared, a more obvious parallel became apparent. When comparing the Cybertruck's crash test results to those of vehicles like the Ford F-150 Lightning, they ceased to be as pronounced as day and night and instead resembled dusk and twilight. Which car would you want to be in the event of an accident? Both had their moments, but the Cybertruck, in all its gruff splendor, seemed to shrug off side impacts like a seasoned fighter. This leads into a more general discussion on the immense mass and power of these contemporary chariots. The Cybertruck is the perfect example of the trend toward massive vehicles that can go from 0 to 60 mph faster than you can post a heated criticism on Twitter. It seems like a competition to see which car can scare people the most, and the Cybertruck shows up as the winner. The fact that there is more at stake in the Cybertruck controversy than just the safety record of one particular car is, however, extremely enlightening. Although the safety of Cybertrucks is questioned, comparison testing might be deceptive. It leads straight to the people within. This expert's video shows it side by side with other vehicles that, according to him, have real crumple zones. That's when things start to get a little murky. And not just because someone left the pool skimmer on. A twist exists: the Cybertruck is prepared to demonstrate its mettle in the safety Olympics, just like it is at the starting blocks. Not everybody is applauding from the sidelines. Here we observe the Cybertruck completing a lap around the "is it safe" course. Armed with their keyboards and a healthy dose of cynicism, the critics are out in full force. Because the stainless steel body is so strong, a hit won't cause it to collapse correctly, which means the forces will be directed right at the people within. That's the main criticism leveled at the Cybertruck, implying that it shouldn't have crumple zones for safety reasons. It's like to saying that a rhino is too strong for its own benefit. The Cybertruck, with its armored shell and futuristic look, quickly came under fire for alleged flaws. On the other hand, it's like witnessing a plot twist play out in real time when you align it for a fair fight and compare crumple zones with the F-150. The comment, "I am not seeing a big difference in the crumple zone between these two," makes you take notice and reconsider the story that has been developing around the safety of the Cybertruck. It turns out that the Cybertruck against F-150 fight is more than simply a comparative analysis. It's a moment of truth that refutes the criticisms. The Cybertruck seems to have turned around and asked its detractors, "You think I can't handle a little rough and tumble? Please hold my beer." This head-to-head with the F-150 highlights the significance of not just accepting safety criticisms at face value, but also of probing further to find the true score. This next section is all about going against the grain, and to be honest, physics. The side impact testing are where you will start to see a greater difference, though. This 3,100-pound cart is traveling at over 40 mph, mimicking the effect of someone running a red light at a junction in a T-bone collision. In addition, the Cybertruck's extremely low center of gravity and weight allow it to stay entirely planted, and aside from the airbags going off, it appears as though it may perhaps drive away. To begin with, picture this a 40 mph T-bone collision, the kind that makes you shudder just thinking about it. Now, in one corner, we have the Cybertruck, which appears to have stepped off the set of a science fiction film. And in the other, well, let's just say that this is the kind of collision that really puts a car to the test. With its heavy weight and low center of gravity, the Cybertruck glides through a rough area like a pro. On ice skates, it remains as sensible as a teenager who has missed curfew. And here's the thing, if cars could talk, the Cybertruck may actually drive away from the situation and ask, "Is that all you got?" But there's still more. You see, it's important to keep in mind that hitting an immovable object in a crash test is essentially the end of the road, even though the front crash test appears to be taken from a demolition derby highlight reel. The ultimate what if is what keeps designers of automobiles up at night. The Cybertruck, on the other hand, is so well designed for safety that you can't help but wonder if it's hiding a superhero cape somewhere. Despite its tough, futuristic exterior, the Cybertruck adheres to the fundamental rule of vehicle design: safety comes first. It's like discovering that the person who makes sure you get home safely after a party is also the tough guy at school. The rear axle snapping in the front crash test is the one item that cannot be forgiven, though. However, in actuality, it is devoid of one. In reality, the Cybertruck has no axle connecting the back wheels and used rear wheel steering, which is presumably why it was towed in during the collision. Moving on, this section of the story takes a sudden turn that is comparable to discovering that your GPS has been taking you around in circles just for kicks. The inside scoop is that during the front crash test, there's a moment that caused everyone to pause and consider the back axle is said to snap in half. This is a disturbing discovery akin to finding you left your coffee on the roof of your car while driving away and looking at it in the rearview mirror. "Joke's on you, I don't even have a rear axle connecting the rear wheels," the Cybertruck responds. That's correct. People, the Cybertruck replaced the conventional back axle with a more modern configuration, rendering the entire scenario of the snapping as absurd as a snowman in the Sahara. Let's now actually shift gears to a larger picture. Trucks have been getting bigger. The Cybertruck has joined the heavyweight champions gym. They're growing larger, heavier, and implicitly becoming the kind of massive road monsters that give tiny automobiles the willies. It seems as though the automotive industry has come to the realization that size matters, expanding the definition of what a truck can be on modern highways. There is a drawback to this gigantism trend, though. It's making them more and more hazardous to everyone in their vicinity. And while people who live in regions of the world with rigorous pedestrian safety regulations may find these monstrosities savage, the US has a huge market for them. Because they desire the biggest, baddest object on the road. Even those who have no purpose for a truck will buy them. And believe me when I say that they are utterly ubiquitous. This time we're focusing on how this futuristic marvel is practically taking people by surprise with its bold performance, power, and prestige combination, just like wearing sunglasses at night. Though it appears as though it was created by a young child with a ruler and a fascination for science fiction, the Cybertruck is gaining popularity in the US more quickly than you can say 0 to 60. Yes, people, this is more than just a truck. It's a moving status symbol that allows you to claim the highways, or more accurately, the rooftops, and say, "Look at me." It's like having a tax filing superhero cape that's also bulletproof. Let's talk about some speed-related statistics that would make even the most elegant sports cars blush. With a speed of 2.6 seconds from 0 to 60 miles per hour, the Cybertruck isn't just raising the standard, it's sending it into orbit. It is a dangerous vehicle just based on this attribute. With its angular, post-apocalyptic elegance, the Cybertruck isn't only about traveling from point A to point B, it's also about destroying the alphabet with such style and force that you'll forget there are other letters. How this monster of a metal has become as American as apple pie with a twist is what's really intriguing. It appears as though Tesla glanced at the traditional truck playbook, shook its head, and hurled it out of the window at breakneck speed. I can still recall thinking, I can't believe a car that can accelerate this quickly doesn't require some kind of special license to drive, because it's frightening how much trouble you can get into if you're not experienced or if you press the accelerator pedal down a bit too long. The short version is that the Cybertruck can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour mph faster than you can say, "Whoa, slow down there, buddy." The fact that this beast can launch itself into action with only a small pedal push can be a double-edged sword, particularly for individuals who aren't yet ready to handle Excalibur. Can you picture giving the keys to this electric titan to a driver who is more familiar with Mario Kart than Mario Andretti? What was the outcome? Circumstances that could be just as dangerous as texting while swinging a chainsaw. Here's a statistic that will make you sit up straighter than a vigilant meerkat. Research indicates that 16,000 crashes in the US are thought to be caused by misapplied pedals annually. Give that some thought. That's almost 44 accidents every day, a figure as depressing as a cold shower. Even though the car has features in its software that cause it to stop when it senses an accelerator pedal misapplication, a feature that has undoubtedly already saved many lives, humans will always find a way. Naturally, Tesla, in its wisdom, built safety mechanisms into the Cybertruck that function as a kind of guardian angel and are intended to prevent the accelerator pedal from being accidentally depressed. With this technological miracle, Tesla is able to gently place a hand on the driver's shoulder and reassure them that they are not driving a chaotic missile, but rather a chariot of development. Let's not ignore the obvious, though. Giving novice drivers the keys to a vehicle with such immense power raises as many red flags as letting a kid use a paintbrush next to a white couch. One way to look at it is the pure appeal of being in control of a car that can take off like a superpowered superhero. The sobering responsibility that comes with using such power is the flip side of it. The safety features offered by Tesla provide witness to the company's dedication to not only spearheading innovation, but also guaranteeing a journey that is both thrilling and safe. The debate over whether it makes sense to give pilots of such a vehicle more excitement than skill goes beyond simple gatekeeping to include making sure that the transportation revolution doesn't outstrip our capacity for adaptation and respect for the power at our disposal. This conversation challenges us to think about how we strike a balance between the excitement of the novel and the wisdom of moderation. It treads carefully on the edge between innovation and prudence. When all they do is drop the kids off at school or go to the grocery store, the same individuals who are planning the Cybertruck are also the ones who originally bought those large, idiotic trucks. Europeans are exempt from this because it is extremely unlikely to pass your stringent pedestrian impact testing. I doubt you will ever see one on the roads. Now, let's move this conversation about Cybertruck closer to its end. But first, let's quickly go across to Europe on the other side of the Atlantic. Imagine this now. Europe's charming streets, those winding little lanes paved with history, might not exactly throw open their arms to our massive Cybertruck. Similar to trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, our Cybertruck is unquestionably the square peg, and stringent pedestrian impact testing in Europe is the round hole. Moral in this case as well. It's about striking a balance between safety and power, creativity and accountability and aspirations and reality. Though the thought of the Cybertruck altering the game is exciting, we must remember to keep everyone safe as we speed into the future by keeping our hands on the wheel and our eyes on the road. Whether we're driving down the highway in a vehicle that looks like it was made on Mars or strolling through the streets of Europe, the best advancement is ultimately the sort that we can all participate in. Tell me if you need anything else, please.